So is Ripple actually looking at and considering buying Celsius? Celsius, which is a crypto lending platform that recently filed bankruptcy, which in fact may still end up being owned by the FTX exchange. I'm going to tell you what Watcher.guru just broke on Twitter about a conversation that was had between a Reuters reporter and a Ripple Labs representative. This one is interesting. And of course, we now have some big numbers coming out. The CPI number has just been printed this morning, 8.5%. The inflationary index number that we go by month to month. I'm going to tell you how the markets are reacting, what other information we're going to be looking at the rest of the month, and how this could affect the crypto markets overall. And we're going to be looking at the Ripple versus the SEC case because there were some motions filed and some responses to some motions filed that are very interesting, including what Ripple replied to, which is basically saying what the SEC is arguing is basically toothpaste coming out of a tube that they can't put back in, and now they're trying to backtrack. And tell you how Ripple responded and what we're going to wait for next. Hey everyone, my name is Randy. Welcome back to the Late Night Grind. And right now on this channel, we're covering the Ripple versus the SEC case, as well as other cryptocurrency news, investment markets, and personal finance. So if any or all these topics interest you, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join the Late Night Grind community. Also, if you do a couple of things, I'd appreciate it. Smash the thumbs up button, watch this video all the way to the end, and of course, check out my Patreon. There's a link in the description below. If you do that, I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, guys. Let's jump into it. So let's first start off by talking about the macroeconomic news, which is the CPI, the inflationary index number that gets printed every month, is officially 8.5% for the month of July. Now, it was expected to be about 8.7%, so this was a drop from what was expected. Now, previously, the past about 6 months in a row, it had exceeded what the expected CPI number was going to be. This was the first time in a long time it's been under expectations. So as you can imagine, most of the markets reacted positively, assuming that, well, it looks like the inflationary peak is in and that it's going to be drawing back now. Bitcoin almost instantly jumped by about $1,000 and added over $50 billion in new market value in a little under an hour. The rest of the markets also did the same thing. The Dow Jones, the S&P, and many of the other markets also jumped on the news. The Dow Jones rising over 600 points right off the bat. And it's funny because 6 months ago, if we would have gotten that 8.5% number, the markets would have been tanking, catastrophically red, bloodbath everywhere tanking. But now it's going the complete opposite direction. Now, it's still a horrible number. Inflation's still horrendously high, and it's going to take a long time for that number to come back down. But what investors are looking at is the fact that it's going to be trending in the right direction. Now, if you haven't been in the investment world or you buying stocks or even the crypto space, it's news like this that actually moves the markets up or down, because it's not exactly what that number is, it's what that number represents. So some more important information that we're going to be looking at is also housing market data. That number is going to be coming out on August 20th or just before August 20th. As of right now, July had a 30% increase in new home listings, which is record-breaking. In fact, it's the third month in a row it's had record-breaking listings as people see the end of this hot housing market coming to a close, and they're finally making the decision and getting a house on the market before it comes crashing down. So the one number I'm going to be looking at is the applications for mortgages. Last month, it actually dropped. Actually, in June, it actually dropped by 7% for new home purchases, and it dropped by 4% for refis. So that number is expected to be much, much higher in the month of July. And now that we're into August, it's probably dropping even further, but we still have to wait for that data to come out. So when you're looking at extremely high numbers of new houses flooding the market and the number of mortgage applications is dropping like a rock, doesn't exactly bode well for the people trying to sell their house. Now, the analysis shows that most of these home sales are still favoring the seller, but it probably won't last much longer. All right, so now let's get into Ripple versus the SEC, because there were some motions that were just filed over the past couple of days. Number one, Ripple and the SEC both are filing motions to the judge that are excluding their expert witness testimony. So right now, everything is sealed regarding expert witness testimony. According to James Filan on Twitter, basically nobody will get to see it until the judge sorts it out. We probably won't be able to see what these expert witnesses are saying for quite some time. Number two, Ripple responded to the SEC's objection to Judge Knepper's ruling, or re-ruling I should say, on her DPP and client attorney privilege ruling, which is what the SEC has been trying to argue forever to try to keep these Hinman emails hidden for the 12th time. And right now, I'm still calling this the Ripple versus the SEC case, but at some point, I might actually flip it to the SEC versus the courts case. because that's at least what it's been looking like. So anyway, Ripple responded to the SEC's latest objection. In it was actually a very long document. I didn't read the entire thing yet, but I did see some very good analysis of it. And in fact, some of the most important, one of the important points were that obviously, Ripple is agreeing with the judge in that the DPP, the client attorney privilege, doesn't make sense, and the SEC should be turning over the documents. And once again, this is Ripple right along with the judge, kind of saying the same thing. That, listen, what the SEC argued back in the day when this thing first started was that the Hinman email was an outside activity, personal opinion. But then they realized that, oops, we made a mistake. We want to say it was actually official guidance. And Ripple's calling that the SEC trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube, which is exactly what they're trying to do, because they're trying to do anything to prevent these documents from coming out. Obviously, the speculation is that some of these documents, some of these emails, actually talk about the market participants and what they were told or not told about digital assets being securities, specifically XRP, and what they did or didn't tell Ripple. So some of the speculation is that's why it's all about this, why the SEC doesn't want these documents coming out, because that could completely obliterate their hope of going after the rest of the crypto space based on some of these emails. But let me know in the comments section below if you think this is really a case against Ripple, or if it's now the case of the SEC just trying to keep things under wraps. And finally, some news just broke, actually yesterday, that a Reuters reporter talked to a representative of Ripple Labs regarding Celsius. Now, this is a really interesting one, because Celsius, if you don't know who they are, they're one of the many crypto lending platforms that went under declared bankruptcy because of the latest market crash, the latest market downturn, the insolvency issues that they had. So in their bankruptcy filings, it showed that Ripple really wasn't that Ripple was not any kind of creditor or anything to Celsius, but the representative from Ripple said that they are interested in learning more about not only Celsius, but their assets, and seeing if that might make sense for Ripple's business model. And looking at the rest of this article, that was pretty much all the details that were given. Now, in my opinion, I don't think Ripple would actually go ahead and buy a lending platform like Celsius, and I think their interests revolve more around whatever assets, possibly digital assets, that they have remaining. I don't know if they'd be looking into their business model on the back end, if they'd be looking at their potential client list, or any use case for a company like Celsius to actually use Ripple's on-demand liquidity system to actually provide legitimate lending services via their business model. But yeah, we'll get to see. That's just a little speculation. That's just a little speculation on my part, but that would be really interesting to see. But hey, let me know in the comment section down below if that's just too much wild speculation, or if maybe there's something there. But as of right now, last I heard, FTX exchange, which is Sam Bankman-Fried's exchange, was still attempting to purchase Celsius. So until any of that goes through, this is all speculation, but it's very interesting news, and it's been going wild on Twitter. And anything deeper than that, any deeper information than that, is going to be going wild anyway. Alright guys, I want to thank you so much for watching this video all the way to the end, for smashing that thumbs up button, and as always, I'll see you guys on the next video.